Hello, hello. Welcome to the Eddie Conversation podcast. My name is Eddie Vigil, and I am your host. I am a script supervisor living in Los Angeles, California. This is episode number 56, I believe. Yep. And joining me today is Aaron Sauerland. Sauerland?
Yep, Sauerland. Yeah, thank you.
Also a script supervisor, Union Local 871.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for coming out. I know we've been chatting for a little bit about getting this, and I feel like I brought it up, but yeah, stuff, whatever.
Yeah, work comes up. It's the freelance life.
So the exciting thing for me talking to you is, I guess I will recap that I've talked to script supervisors before.
Yeah.
We were talking about it pre-rolling a little bit. And I know I've been wanting to have more conversations with union script supervisors, as that's, a goal for me and a lot of other script supervisors trying to make that next step in, getting some insight in maybe your journey and kind of the transition in and what it's like in the union world versus non-union. We'll get to all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will shout out the other episodes in case you're new to the show. Have chatted with, these are all Los Angeles script supervisors. Episode 20, Sarah Gerritsen. 29, Ari Halpern. 43, Nick Robinson. And 44, Carissa McQueen. So a nice gamut of different experiences, different backgrounds, because script supervising is weird. Question number 1, just before you even jump into who you are.
Yeah.
What I like to ask, what does a script supervisor do for those that aren't familiar? How do you explain your job to people?
I like to tell people. Well, there's kind of two definitions that I say. If I'm just like talking to like a family member or a family friend or something like that, someone who's not going to understand anything I'm going to say anyway, I usually give like the most bare bones version of it, which is like I'm kind of like an on-set secretary. And like I preface this with saying that like I know that like belittles our job very much to say, but it's like the most layman terms I think version of what we do, because like we are a note taker, like extensively our job is taking notes. So like for anyone who's like not in the industry or someone who's like just doesn't care, doesn't know much about the industry, I use that definition. But
so on-set secretary, and then people, they'll be satisfied with that answer. They're like, oh, okay, now I totally get what you do.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'll be like, oh, I'm like an on-set secretary, basically like taking notes for the team to cut the film and make sure it cuts. And then usually they're like, oh, okay, and then that's that, and like they don't ask anymore.
Yeah.
But if I were to like actually answer like to anyone else,
like on set, sometimes people are curious too.
100%. I like to say that we're the liaison between production and post-production. Like we ensure that everything that we shoot on set cuts together and tells the story the way that the director and the screenwriter and at least intended at the moment.
Yes. Okay. Great. Yeah, it's very simple.
Yeah,
that's pretty straightforward. Very good. You've had some practice at getting that out. Because I know. If you listen to how others describe it, sometimes it's like a 5-minute explanation trying to explain
all the facets
what we do, because there's a lot of facets. Okay, so let me just pull up my notes here.
Yeah.
So Aaron. I'll just keep saying your name.
Yeah, do it.
So let's get a little bit of background on who you are, when you kind of found your way to script supervising, what you're up to prior to that, if I don't know, just let's start there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm from Chicago originally. The suburbs of Chicago, but it's so much easier to just say Chicago.
Yeah.
Because no one knows. I wanted to do like film. I wanted to work in film since I can remember. And so I started writing stories and etc. And like when I was in like fourth grade, I was like shooting films with my friends, and that's always been my path. And then when it came time for college, I went to Columbia College Chicago, and I was studying writing and directing.
Mhm.
And it was like my sophomore year or junior year, and I needed to fill a credit, and I saw like a script supervising class, and being that I was studying writing and directing, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like script supervising, that's got something to do with screenwriting, right?
Right. Right.
Because I had no idea like what the position was. And on the first day of class, the professor walks in, and she's like, if you think this class has anything to do with screenwriting, then like
Then get out
yeah,
quick.
you're wrong. Like, be ready. It's not too late for you to switch. And I figured like how I didn't even know what this position does, so I went ahead and just like stuck with it. I did the class and enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I instantly fell in love with the fact that you're working with all the department heads so closely. It was really cool being on set. That like, I always remember the first time being on set for these. The class starts you with thesis films, so you're a script supervisor for like another student's thesis project, for like
Yeah.
usually like a grad student or something. And so it was really cool though, like being on set and being that kind of like point of contact essentially, where like people will turn to you and be like, hey, like this will cut, right? Or like, do we have everything? And that was kind of like that first taste of like the collaborative element that our position offers. And so I did that, and then at the end of that class, the professor was working on a film, and she needed a couple days off, and she asked me to cover her. And so that was my first gig. So that class led me right into my first gig, and that led to the next one and the next one, and kind of rolled from there. And then I moved out here, and here I am.
Okay. Yes. Nice. Okay. No, it sounds, yeah. Okay.
Yes, sorry that I
No,
talk a
it's great.
lot,
No,
so
it's great.
like
It's great. Okay.
interrupt as
So,
B.
so so the class was something you just jumped into, not knowing what to expect. You just needed an extra credit,
Exactly.
potentially.
Yeah. I didn't
And
even know what script supervising was. I
right.
never even heard of a script supervisor
Yeah, I didn't
before.
even know they taught classes on it at
Mhm.
schools. So prior to that, what was had you like you said you had made some stuff yourself?
Yeah.
What was you mentioned writing and so what's the I guess like what's the dream or what was the dream pre-finding it or how do you see it now?
Yeah, I mean, my plan is still to write and direct. That's always been my end goal. Script supervising is great. I feel like as a transitional bridge or as an end cap, it just depends on how you see yourself in the industry and how you fit. Um, but for me, that writing and directing has always been the end goal, and script supervising allows you, like I said, it's such intermingling of department heads,
Yeah.
and so you're constantly making these contacts with producers and directors and writers and cinematographers,
Yep.
and so you're always learning in this position, as long as you are open to it. And so I guess that, yeah, my end goal is still to write and direct, and script supervising has like been a great like almost like the best master class you can ever have, just because
Yeah, you're basically shadowing directors as your job.
a
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah. That's how I see it too.
exactly. So yeah, so that's still the end goal. That's like always been the main thing. Um, but I still take pride in what I do. I love script supervising for many reasons, but being a bridge is also just one of those great bonuses of the job.
Yeah, supporting other directors is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I totally get it. Okay. So, I know a lot of people let's just say I don't know how often we have a group in Los Angeles called the LASSN, Los
Mm.
Angeles Script Supervisor Network. You can go to the website.
Yep.
So there's like weekly meetups and stuff. The community tries to get together. I don't know how
Yeah,
often.
monthly, once a month.
Yeah, I don't know how often you've checked that out or you've jumped in, but I know as of late it's been mostly virtual and Zoom
Mm-hmm.
based, and it kind of. I know a lot of same things come up each time with a lot of newer script supervisors are trying to figure out how do I what days get counted for
Yeah.
joining the union, how do I get into the union, going through contract services, like all
Oh
the
God,
gripes and,
contract services.
and all that stuff. So how how long have you been at it? How did it work from transitioning from Chicago to LA?
Mm.
And then how long were you non-union before you made the jump? And then we'll get into maybe we'll talk some of the I don't know. How long have you been union? I guess
I've
first.
been union. I think this is 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, like three and a half,
That's
something like
not
that.
yeah, okay. So you probably still remember pre-union days.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
hasn't been that long.
No, the non-union heavily outweigh the union years so far.
Yes. Okay. So how does that all play?
Okay, well, first off, as far as like, I mean, where should I start? Should I start with
Let's start
transitioning
yeah,
or how the two juxtapose or
let's start with how did you know it was time to move to Los Angeles when you were already
mm,
working in the position in Chicago? Or well, yeah, let's
yeah.
start with that, and then we'll make our way.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, LA was always like similarly to the writing and directing being the end goal. Like LA was always part of that too. Um, and like working in Chicago, you learn really fast that it's a like it's a really small town,
Yeah,
especially in comparison to LA. And like unless you want to work on like Chicago PD or
Chicago Fire
Chicago
or
Med,
Chicago
Chicago,
P. Yeah,
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 any one of those. Unless you want to work on one of those shows or commercials, um, it's not really like your town. Like,
yeah,
and as a single position department, as a department of one, um, if those shows have a script soup, they have a script soup. So like,
yeah.
it's gonna be really hard for you to like get in there in that position in that regard. And when I was working there, I did a lot of like the features that just rolled through town, and so and a lot of those are like really low budget. And so anyway, it was always my plan to transition out to LA, and my college offered a semester in LA program that you could do as your final semester. And so that offered basically like a natural bridge um, over here,
Okay,
And so I ended up moving out here. And then when I moved out here, you're starting at zero. Like I didn't have any contacts or anything like that. So it's
sure, sure.
it's basically starting at ground zero again. All your networks in Chicago. So I did I think what a lot of people do, which is like look on Craigslist, but Facebook groups.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. No,
No,
I've
feel
never.
free to jump in anytime. Don't
No,
ever
no,
feel
for
rude.
sure. No, I'm not. I don't. Okay. I've never tried looking on Craigslist for script supervisor gig. Is that something that worked for you? Did that?
I mean, yeah, I got a couple jobs from Craigslist. Before I don't know. I would say, from my own personal experience, it seems like AFI Films used to post a lot of their job searches on Craigslist.
Huh.
And then now I feel like I see them all on Facebook. And I don't know if that's just that the Facebook groups have become larger or if I wasn't maybe even in the Facebook groups at the time um, back in 2015 when I first moved out here.
Yeah. So I guess okay. So you explored the traditional avenues of probably like themandy.com, the Staff
Yeah,
Me Up.
Industry Jump,
Yeah.
all those
Just just
production hub
just
or whatever.
trying to get anything to because
Exactly.
once you get on set, it's that's when it really gets rolling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think The first thing you learn, or not the first thing, that's a bullshit. But am I allowed to swear? I
No, please,
Okay, I've been
sure.
restraining myself a lot. I from Chicago, we like curse a lot, and so um, but one of the things that I think you learn fairly quickly, the more you do it, is that it's communications like this, and like the LASSN meetups and events like that. Like that is how you move um, up in this position and in this job, especially because we're a Department of One. But because I got more work from friends of mine that were script soups that couldn't take a job and then would pass it to me. Like that is where all of my work comes from today. Other than like it's all referral based. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I need a script soup, and like this other script soup that I really love is busy, and they recommended you, and yada yada yada. So um, I think that like you stop job searching at a certain point, because the referrals become your main source.
Yeah.
But that all takes time, you know, and that's the hardest part of it.
Cool. No, it's all, no, that makes sense to me. That all tracks.
Hmm.
Okay, so then you were building this foundational. Yeah, you're working through that. You're making your contacts. You're starting getting referrals going. How long? Um, okay, I guess through all this too, were you also doing any writing on the side or making stuff yourself, or were you primarily script supervisor focused when landing in Los Angeles, or
No, I
how?
mean I'm always writing. I have a co-writer, and that's like his central focus. And so we're constantly working. I mean, you know, it's one of those things of like Monday through Friday. If you're on a feature, it's like Monday through Friday you're on set, and then like Saturday you're like meeting up with the co-writer and like going over notes or like whatever wherever you're at in the process of developing a script. And then you're back on set like Monday through Friday, and then you rinse and repeat that process. The downfall of that is that like you're only meeting or having a chance to work like one day a week, really, or 2 days if you want to do your other day,
Sure, sure.
like on your personal stuff on scripts. But
Because you have that background processing still kind of going on, though, I would assume.
mhm.
But I know you're occupied on set thinking about that story. So,
Yeah,
like, in the background, something's kind of still chugging, but still, yeah, you have limited time to actually dig in. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of writing is like a meditative process. I feel like so much of it is what you can't see, which is like what's rolling around in your head. And so that's where like working on set, it's like those long commutes to like location, um, or to the stage. Like that's where you do a lot of your thinking. And then when you're on set, it's much harder to find time, especially in our line of work. It's much harder to find time to roll around ideas or process because you're so in that world to pull yourself out and like go into a whole other thing that's so disconnected, and then like
Yeah.
and then be on the cue, you know, to be ready to like, Aaron, what's this? Like that's so fucking hard. And so yeah, you really only have those like drives to work and drives home from work to work on screenwriting or so on, or personal things, and then that one day on the weekend.
Okay. So, yeah, so you're still doing what you can to push the dream down the road, slow and steady,
hundred
through
percent.
that process. So then when does when does going union start kind of talking to you?
I mean, they always say. I mean, I feel like they always say.
Who is they?
They
The
they
powers that
the
be.
powers that be, exactly. The fates. No, they would be like, I guess like for me it was always other script suits, and you hear this like with screenwriting as well, where like a lot of screenwriters are trying to find like management or reps, you know,
Sure.
and they always say that like when the time's right, the time's right. Like you'll know because like
Because you have to.
exactly, because it'll be the time. And it's very much the same with going union. Um, you know, I was out here, and in my first year out here, I was working on a feature, and the line producer mainly did union stuff, but that happened to be a non-union project. And when we wrapped it, she was like, "You're great. Like, are you union? Because I have a union project coming up." And I was like, "No, like, fuck, like,
Yeah.
I wish I was fucking union." And so like that was kind of the first like inkling of like, man, maybe I should like start logging my days and dealing with contract services. Um, I guess that like I put it off for a long time because like in my mind I was always like, oh well, like I'll just get on a project and that project will flip and I'll be just like grandfathered in and then like I don't know.
Yeah, the easy way out. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't have to deal with all that shit. But then, like when people started being like, "Are you union?" and then I had to keep turning them down. Like it's kind of like a wake up call. You have to like kick yourself a little bit and be like, "I should just get the fucking ball rolling." Um. So yeah. So I guess that was kind of like the turning point for me.
Yeah.
Was like once you say no to like several jobs, like once the jobs start outweighing the non-union calls, um, it's time to like get your ass in gear and get moving because eventually those calls will stop.
Okay. It sounds like the proper. That sounds okay. Yeah. How did you introduce that? You said that they say.
Yeah, they say.
Let's just roll the tape back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
No,
So,
they say you'll know when, like the time will come. It'll happen naturally, essentially.
okay. Yeah, because I know the way that I was kind of thinking about it, which I like that approach. I mean, that seems like the healthier, nice, easier transition too, because you're already busy in one realm, and then it's already coming in. So once
Yeah,
you switch over,
there's
the jobs are there, or there's at least opportunities
Yep,
and contacts that you can reach back out to and update them. And hey,
exactly.
I'm union.
I did the flip.
I did it, and they're like, oh,
And
great.
they're like, who are you again? What did we work
Yeah,
on? And you're like,
yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, because I was thinking more about like you talk about the jump from Chicago to Los Angeles, and
Mhm.
you've got to rebuild a whole foundation and get
Yeah,
it going. Union's like a similar thing, where it's a whole different world, different line producers, and
completely.
so there's a potential where I guess if you rushed it and you got your 100 days and
Hmm.
all your contacts are non-union, you haven't had the opportunity to even get offered union yet.
Yep.
You make the jump, and then there's nothing
Yeah. Then you
coming.
dropped $8,200 and you're just,
Is that what it is right now?
yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Very cool. Cool. But yeah, like then you drop the money. I think, Ari, who you've had on here,
Yeah.
I met up with Ari when I first moved out here because I happened to work on a short film with a makeup artist who was a makeup artist on The Goldbergs, which is Ari's show.
Yeah, and that shows. Wait, it's in its yeah. I know Ari's moved on since then.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good
Yeah.
for
It
him.
was a farewell season, and I know on our episode he was talking about being worried about not having a
The
job
next
after
step.
because he was there forever. So
Damn. Yeah, that was his show.
talk about not having contacts.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people worry about that. But yeah, like I reached out to Ari when I first moved out here because I worked on that short film and I was talking with the makeup artist and she mentioned Ari, and so I reached out to Ari and was like, hey, I worked with this makeup artist and she brought up your name and I'm a script supervisor as well, but I'm not union and I would love to like just like grab lunch with you or whatever. And so Ari was kind enough to meet up with me and just like chat, the same thing that we're doing right now.
Yeah. Yay, Ari.
Like literally like when to flip, right? And so God, I don't even know how I just got on this tangent. Um,
And then he was. Oh, you were going to talk about that he helped slide you some gigs, right? Was that the thing? No.
no, I mean he helped. I guess he helped guide me with the whole flipping, and going union thing. Just like telling me, the same gist that I was just saying to you, which is like, that idea of like, oh, you know what it is? Okay, I remember now.
Yes.
Thank God. ADD, I hate you. So, Ari was the one who warned me that like a lot of people pull the trigger too early. A lot of people like will go union without that knocking, without the calls coming that are even entertaining the idea of you working a union job. And So like he kind of put that in my head of like, like you can't base it off of like I missed one call or two calls, right? Like one or two calls that are union like in like a year is like not enough to flip. Like you're just going to be floundering. You're going to still
Yeah.
be working non-union, but then you're going to be paying quarterly dues on top of your initiation fees and everything. It's just like an overkill, I think. Anyway, so a lot of people fall into that trap, and I was very hesitant to do that as well, which is I probably why I stayed in non-union for so long, um, to try and just like avoid being one of those people who
Right. Even
gets
okay.
trapped.
Yeah. All right. So you got the thumbs up, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it was like I said, it was just right. Like the calls started coming in, and again, it ties back into what I said earlier with like you need to like reach out and mingle with other script soups because like that's straight up where like most of my union work comes from.
Yeah.
Um, and if people don't know your name, then like they can't recommend you for anything. And so,
For sure.
and that goes for our position more than I think even producers and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the quote. It's the quote that I don't know, I say this all the time, but there's the old quote of it's who you know, but it's not who you know. It's who knows
It's
you.
who knows you
Yeah. So
exactly.
I love saying that. It always gives me a certain feeling. Um. Okay. So
um,
you made the jump and you went union. Now,
yeah. Sorry, go on.
so I guess just to get the big a nice vague big question out of the way, just to get us moving again.
Hmm.
What for all the non-union script supervisors out there wondering, what's the difference between union world and non-union world as a script supervisor? Because there's pre-production stuff, there's like
Yeah.
prep work, there's on set, and then there's wrap
Handoff.
stuff or
Yeah.
whatever, or
I mean,
second unit. There's multiple units. Like who knows? I don't know.
yeah.
What are better, worse?
No, I mean, honestly, here's the thing is like when I first flipped and I started doing union stuff, I used to be so anxious every time I get a union job.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Holy fuck, like this is union. Like this is it, guys. We did it, boys. We did it, boys."
Yeah.
um so but then like you get on set and then you realize that it's like the exact same shit you were doing. Like the union sets are bigger, they have more money, like a lot more crew. As a department of one, you find yourself like feeling a little more like tossed in the waves, like it's like there's a lot of shit happening because it's like three times the size of a crew that you're used to being around.
Yeah.
Um, but like as soon as they like call action and then cut on that first take, you like settle into it so fast and you just realize that like it's the exact same fucking thing. Like the same bullshit that you're dealing with like non-union stuff and like shit going wrong and like people not paying attention to monitor and like all that shit, like it still happens on union stuff. The
Yeah.
only difference is that like everyone's getting paid more.
What about workflow specifically? Like I know, let's just say non-union world
Hmm.
productions don't have the money,
Yeah.
so they're trying to cram more in a day than they need to.
Yeah.
Is it still where they're like doing, you're pushing 25, 30 setup single camera
Hmm.
on like a standard day? Like I don't know if union is more traditionally chiller in that way where you're actually shooting less per day,
It's
or
not
like I
my
don't
experience. Like, I'll say this. Like, I have seen schedules for like huge tiered films that are like 2 pages a day, and
Yeah.
like 135 shooting days, and like that's amazing. Like, I would fucking kill for that. That sounds great because like everyone can be so focused on every moment as it's happening, rather than like having to always think 20,000 steps ahead because you're trying to make 10 pages a day. Um, However, though, that's just not the case for most of it. For like every set I've been on, like no matter the scale, like I've worked on like, Universal TV shows, and I've worked on like Nickelodeon TV shows, and I've worked on CBS TV shows, and like it's always a fucking shit show, and it's always like a running gun. Like the more money just means that like the problems like manifest in different ways. Um, and so
Okay. Sure. So yeah, you said people get paid more, but it's the same.
yeah,
Okay, all right. So okay, you were gonna continue on that,
I was just
or
gonna say, so like as far as like workflow and everything,
yeah.
like not to go on a small tangent, but like I think a lot of that like stems from the fact that we switched over to digital and everything is being shot digitally now. Um, because of that, it's so much easier for them to be like, oh, just grab that camera, throw it up on the Steadicam, and just shoot something. And so like we're constantly like hosing down scenes, and which is making our job specifically much harder.
When you say hosing down, what do you mean?
Hosing down is just like a term for like it's literally exactly like what I just said, where it's like, okay, grab C camera and just shoot like whatever you can find. So like a lot of times we'll call it hosing down on like if cameras are handheld, and then like every take the camera is like changing to like another position. It'll be like, okay, we're starting on Eddie, and then
Okay.
like halfway through the take, they're like pan over and like we're gonna stay on this person now, and then the next take they're like we're gonna bounce back and forth into swingles. Like it's stuff like that.
Swingles.
Oh yeah, swinging singles.
Oh, this is some cool new terminology for me. All right.
The more you're on set, the more you pick them up. But
Okay, so hosing down, because I've never heard that term
okay,
before, but
yeah,
I have seen it done before.
yes,
So yeah, I guess the thought is that the shots aren't specifically planned in a manner,
yeah,
so there's no attachment. We're just trying to get a lot of coverage. That
yes,
way we can figure it out in post.
correct. Yeah, it's just like shoot everything, and then like we'll just give it all to them, and then they can figure it out. And like that is 100% a result of the industry switching to digital, and it weighs so heavily on our position, and
Do you know the deeper thought process on why that would be preferred over the other?
I mean,
Because I guess coming from your filmmaker brain too, let's just say you're directing that episode instead.
yeah.
Is that something that you're being told from above on like, don't put too much time into thinking about shots. We're just gonna hose this down. Like, is that a
No, I think that it all comes from the budget, you know? Like budgets are tighter on unproven shows and unproven media. And so I think that, it's the same thing like I said, it's the same thing with non-union. Like you're still trying to do like 6 pages, or like if you're doing like only 4 pages, it's like an action sequence or something.
yeah,
So like you don't have time to like spend on every single shot like trying to like line it up and light it perfectly and like yada yada yada. So you just have to hose it down because like it's either you get this or like on TV for example, directors are like for hire. Like you're a gun
yeah,
for hire. So like you need to like make the days. And so if what you have to do is just fucking hose it all down and like it doesn't really matter about the shots looking necessarily good, then like that's what
yeah.
they do.
Okay. So when I think of budgets, I think of pre-production because I
Yeah.
know that's where a lot of decisions get made too. I'm thinking about it from like the director's perspective as
Mhm.
well, but I don't know how TV is. I'm sure they don't have pre-time like your gun for hire. So
You have pre-production meetings. You're usually like cuz the teams rotate out on TV.
yeah,
So like one week is like a like A unit, B unit almost. Like it's not units, but like so like the A team is going to be like this first AD and this director, and they're going to be prepping while the B team is shooting an episode.
yeah,
Um, and that's only like the higher ups that switch out, like the first AD and the director and so on.
yeah,
So you still get like a prep, and like from my experience working on TV, like directors will come in with shot lists, like they'll have it all planned out. So it's not that they don't. It's not like the director walks on and is like, "Well, we're fucked from the get go, so like who gives a shit? Just shoot it." Um,
yeah.
they have plans. It's just that like everything goes out the fucking window, like always in this industry, and you have to roll with it. And you can either lean into those struggles and make something great, or try and find like an elegant solution. It takes up more time. So
Yeah. Cool. Makes sense.
yeah.
Cool. I forgot what you were talking about prior to that.
Before the budget question and the
Before
planning.
the hosing down.
It's a good question.
So I was asking about whether or not. Okay. So I'm curious on expectations for a script supervisor in union world
Yeah.
versus non-union world, because a thought that I have that I guess in theory would be lovely is a lot of times in non-union when you're working with creatives, it's by default usually they're lesser experienced
Yeah.
than the union counterparts,
Yep.
and they're not familiar with what you do as a script supervisor, so they don't know how to utilize you to your full potential.
Yep.
My hope is in union world, there's more understanding on what everybody's doing, and you're actually leaned on more so, or at least you're utilized in a way where you're being as productive as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've been on sets where I've been on union sets where, well, okay, let me backtrack just 1 second and say you're spot on that like when you get on a union set, like you're union, so people expect you to know how to do your job. And so you
Can
don't have any of that.
can we expect them to know what our job is?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing. Is like it's one of the great parts about going union is just that like everyone's kind of like certified basically by like having the days and everything. It like at least guarantees that like the people around you understand like what you do. Um, Now whether or not they utilize you is like a totally different question. Like I've been on sets where um, like I'm like not ever utilized and I'm just there doing my job, but like no one is interacting with me unless I interact with them, unless I engage
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Um,
You're there mostly just at that point for the editing team and post.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. But it's funny how you yourself can flip that dynamic on set though, by becoming like an active participant in it, and by being on your game, like catching things or bringing up like posing questions to the director or the DP about like, is this what you wanted or whatever. That's like a huge technique as a script supervisor is like always framing everything as questions.
Yep.
and so yeah, you can become really active, and as soon as you open that up, as soon as you catch something once, or you bring up something that's like a good idea, like that's all it takes for them to all of a sudden like trust you and lean on you a little bit and be like, oh, okay, yeah, like Aaron's on it, Aaron's got an eye for that, like I can like turn to him and be like, we got that, yeah, or like I could turn to Aaron and be like, like, does this work if we are over here? Or like, did we have these lights on or whatever? It's like, it opens up the dialogue, which is often, I think, that initial step is the hardest part when you're stepping onto new sets.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree. That's always like a fun thing to, it's a frustrating kind of thing, but it also feels really good when you overcome that when you see that you can tell day one on who a director's go-to confidant is, whether it's the AD or the
DP.
It's often the DP.
Yeah,
very much so, because of course it is.
Yeah, they're bringing the vision to life.
I'm not jealous. All right, and I'm over here like, all right, let's find a way that you, let's build this up so that way we can carry the load together, and I can help with that because the DP has other stuff going on too.
Exactly.
So that story question could go to me instead of the DP.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always fun to build that bridge. It would just be lovely if they knew from the get-go that
Exactly.
either way.
But yeah, so to tie that back to like to your question though of like Like, do people know and understand like your job?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, 100%. I think that in the union world, like, you don't get any more of that. Like, you send a report and then the production team's like, oh wow, this is great, thanks, and you're like, yeah, like, has no one sent this report to you before? Like, that's fucking wild. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so you never have to deal with any of that stuff. But yeah, counteracting that note is like everyone just expects you to know your job. So like a lot of times like they just don't even interact with you because they're just like, well,
Yeah.
if there's an issue, like he'll speak up and he'll say it. So
Yeah, what about pre-production, like breakdowns and timings and stuff? Is that does any of that change where there's actually time in pre for people for some more dialogue to occur in pre-production, or is that an experience you have with
I don't know if I'd say that it's like different per se. I mean, like you have more paid prep days when you're in the union, so you have more time to like do
just sift through it all,
to
yeah.
sift through. And I mean, you're involved with more pre-production meetings. I feel even when you're doing like I do a lot of like pickups for like features and stuff. And so like one of your days will often be like the Zoom call days where you're like hopping on several meetings and like walking through the schedule or etc. I think you get more of that in the union world than you do non-union. Non-union, you're more just like show up and like fucking wing it. Like, I mean, you prep yourself, like you break down
Yeah.
the script, but like as far as like having an idea of how the fuck the shoot's gonna go and what days are gonna be what,
Or like collaborating with other departments on like
yeah.
costumes with story days
Mm-hmm.
and getting that all down with director, like I don't know.
First ADs are more reliant on you, I feel like, in the union world for like story days. I feel like on a lot of non-union projects, you can end up like you do your story day breakdown and you like send it out to the department heads and you're like, this is it, guys. And then you get the like call sheet and like all the story days on the call sheet are like wrong.
Yeah, because standardly, and it feels like a non-union, the AD is the one doing that breakdown, right? Like,
He does his own breakdown,
or
yeah.
she.
He or she, yes, they. He or she does their own breakdown with
Yeah.
story day and props and all that shit.
Yeah, yeah,
But so do we, and it's like crucial, if not paramount, that like we are on the same page. And on non-union, you have to like go out of your way to touch base and like establish that and make that work. And I feel like more on union shows, they they kind of come to you. They're like, "Hey, when can we get that story day breakdown?" Or like,
right.
"When can we get your breakdowns in general?" Timings is much more important in the union world. I don't feel it so much with features, but definitely on TV, which makes sense.
Okay. I was gonna semi backtrack, not too much so. You mentioned pickup days
Yeah,
on that's for TV and film or what?
it's mainly features. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
So you're being called in to script supervise additional shots or reshoots. Like is that similar to a pickup day, or am I misthinking of
yeah.
what?
No, that's correct.
Because you weren't attached to principal photography, you weren't there for the
Hmm.
main shoot, and you're here for pickups.
Yes.
How does that work with continuity and making sure it's going to cut with everything else they've shot? How does that work?
So it always depends on where they are in the process. Like, if it's like there's kind of like I mean, there's probably many like variables, but like usually there's kind of two versions. It's like one where like they just completed shooting in Toronto or they just completed shooting in like South America. And so now they're like coming here and they're going to shoot like 2 weeks in LA. And so in that situation, they usually don't really have like a cut or anything for you. And
Right.
so you like are relying strictly upon like the script soup's notes. So you ask them for like any of their rap reports for that unit or anything like that. Um, And kind of trusting and relying on the other department heads, like the costumes and makeup and so on, because usually they will be from the main unit. And so anyway, so you're relying a lot
Yeah.
on the team and the script soups notes. The other version is like you're doing like reshoots, or like you're picking up like small transitional moments. And a lot of times with that, they'll have a locked edit or even just an edit for you. And so I always just reach out and ask for like a cut if they have it and if they'll allow me to see it. Because then that allows me to just like download it and then like have it on my computer on set, and I can literally just like pull it up right beside the director and be like, look at this. The windows were down, and like we're shooting this and they're up. We should probably have these windows down. What do you think? And so, yeah.
For sure. Because I always think about the like eye lines and 180 roll and all that kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
with we're getting a pickup of this moment here that takes place in a room that already shot the scene, and
Yeah.
we just want to make sure that we're on the right side of the line or the eye lines match what was.
Exactly. A lot of that comes
Yeah.
too with like with the script soup notes. If your script soup's like logging your camera report notes, a lot of that will be in there too, which is great because a lot of times they want to match like angle and distance and all that jazz.
Okay.
And so like you can by using the script soup's notes, you can like have all that as well, which is
Yeah.
great to
Yeah.
assist the camera team.
For sure. That sounds great. Lovely. Okay. I feel like did we get lost?
I don't know. Yeah,
Did we get lost?
it's gonna be like that with me. I apologize.
Okay. Union versus non-union.
Yeah.
Does it get better? All right. So we talked about. Okay, pre-production was what I was just asking about
Yeah.
there. You talked that was a little bit of the pickups that I asked. What about? So you bring up timings too.
Mhm.
I know I do a lot of work, like on, let's just say, shorts or features. Primarily, they're just happy to be shooting their thing at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they don't. Again, they're just trying to get through the schedule and make sure they at least cover the stuff and come out with a movie.
Yeah. With something that is tangible.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not too worried about pre-timings and then on-day timings
Yeah.
matching or anything like that. What about? I don't know, what am I missing here? What about? All right, I'll just.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, in regards to timings, like, even on non-union stuff, like I always would plant that in like the director's head. Like not so much the pre-timings, because like that's
work.
yeah, like for the non-union stuff, like the pre-timings are like for us. You know what I mean? It's just like no one's fucking asking in the non-union world for your pre-timings. But definitely when I'm on set, if we do a scene and it's like one page and it's like one page of dialogue and it ends up being like 3 minutes, like even on non-union, like I flag that to the director and it's just a quick thing like, hey, just so you know, like that take was 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then usually they'll be like, how long is it? And like, how long is the page? And I'll be like, oh, it's one page. And they'll be like, okay, yeah, we got to change that. So like, you know, you have to be on the lookout for them. Like they don't even half the time in the non-union world, like you said, like they don't even know what the fuck you do. And they're, like you said, just excited to be fucking
I
working.
thought you were gonna say they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I mean, sometimes.
Because I was thinking about, because I also I also do my directing and producing on the site as well. So I know I'm currently prepping for, like, I've never done like a full festival run for a project. So
Yeah.
I know for, I have a short film that I'm kind of prepping for that I was able to find a budget for the first time in my life.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Congrats.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I know for let's say for festivals and just like a sidetrack here, I'm just long road to what you're saying.
Yeah.
The the nice, how do I say it? For a film festival to screen your film,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want your short necessarily to be over 20 minutes long
Yeah.
because it's going to be difficult for festival folk to find time for that. They'd
Yep.
rather screen multiple shorts in that time than your one 35-minute short film.
Yeah. 100%.
So I know, like, I'm writing it to be specifically in that range. Is like the shorter the better. It's currently, me and my writing partner have a writing partner as
Nice.
well. We did an outline first,
Mm-hmm.
and then we did like a pre-timing on the outline
Cool.
as like a middle ground before jumping into the writing process. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, for this to be under 20 minutes, this bullet here needs to be 45 seconds, and then let's write it knowing that's the length of time we have for each thing.
Yep.
So then I'm fast forwarding to thinking about the script supervisor on set and being like, please make sure we're in this range, knowing that we can't
Yes.
have that happen with. But then, of course, I mean, ideally, me as a script supervisor slash, a director that also script supervises too,
Correct.
that should already be kind of clicking in the back of the mind too, where we're watching a little bit more specifically certain aspects that other directors with different backgrounds would do.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of ingrained in us to always be aware of that. And so, yeah, and it's smart to do that, it's smart to, in your outlining phase, have an idea, because you know the end goal, it's not like you're writing um, into the abyss, like,
Right.
like not knowing what your intended plan is. So, but yeah, and that's great. I think that, like, your script soup will have fun working on it, just as the fact that you have the script supervisor mindset.
100%.
Yeah.
Ideally,
Yeah.
there's some built-in respect going on from the get-go. A lot of leaning.
Yeah.
Have you had the experience with having the chance to direct something and having your own script supervisor before? Have you done that?
Yeah. Honestly, the only time that I've directed and had a script soup was like my thesis film in college. Um,
And this
and
was early days.
this was early days.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
has been, yeah, it was like 7 years ago now.
Sure.
Everything I've done since then have been like music videos and so on. We don't have a script soup. Um, I've worked a music video before as a script supervisor, but
Oh no.
it's a trip. But
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was curious on how what process you would go through when seeking your own script supervisor for like your next directing project or whatever. How you imagine now interviewing it,
yeah.
like what kind of questions you would ask, what you utilize them for, if you've thought about that at all.
I mean, the biggest thing for me as a script soup, and then like flip side, I think as a director, is like having that open communication. I just did an interview for a gig actually where I brought this up, but I think script supervisors have a tendency to feel like shit on or like bulldozed or like pushed aside.
Yeah, or just left out. Yeah.
Exactly. And or like they're the naysayers, right? Like, Um and so what happens is that they end up getting like they end up like muting themselves and they don't speak up enough when they should. Um or like, all of a sudden they're no longer part of the like collaborative process of like, hey, like did you want like, a lot of times there's little things that like as a script soup that I look for that are like about the story world and even less so about
The script.
yeah, like less so about the continuity of like the edit and more so about the continuity of the story. And so like for example, it's like, oh, like hey, would do you want this light on in the background because like that like could play in with the fact that like she was home or at the time or something. You know what I mean? Like in this bullshit scene.
Right, right.
So like me as a director looking at a script supervisor, it's just like having someone that like knows how to edit. Like I think like you have to understand how editing works and you have to have done editing before to any extent to like even if it's just like you shoot shit with your friends and you cut it, like you have to, only by doing it can you understand the woes and like all the bumps that are unforeseeable at the time. Um, and so I think that like a good script soup is someone who has editing experience, and then like someone who like is communicative and like able to um, share in the excitement and enthusiasm of what you're trying to do.
Okay. So, okay. Editing experience.
Yeah.
Um, all right.
Because so much of what we do is cutting.
For sure. I guess I was going to ask about how do you feel? This will, yes. Jeez. All right, I got it. How do you feel about? So essentially, you want your script supervisor to have a stronger footing in the full filmmaking background more so. Like if script supervising was all they knew, it's not as attractive as a script supervisor who's also cut some stuff and directed some stuff and kind of has a little. I don't know how. That's
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at as our position as only continuity or something like that, I think you're hindering yourself as a creative, and you're hindering your own worth. Um, I think that like I keep circling back to it, but like this is a collaborative medium, and everyone on set is doing like their part, but like you can't put the blinders on and only look at like your one job. Like a gaffer like is paying attention to like lighting and everything, but like they can't only be looking at lighting. They have to understand like the story and like what's happening here, because it's like that motivates it, you know? Like and that goes for every position, like same with makeup and stuff. Like I just I think a good script soup has experience and understanding in multiple facets of filmmaking, and I think that's how you make yourself um, worth the time and worth the while.
yeah. Okay. No, I agree. I like that for sure, and I know I lean on that myself when I'm script supervising. So
Mm.
similarly, is I take a lot of pride in my filmmaking background and the stuff that I've cut and the processes I've put myself through. I'm dying. Um, how do you balance, or I guess, how do you foresee? Do you talk to people about the dream of directing when you are script supervising, or is that something you hide?
Um, I definitely. Okay, so like in interviews and stuff, when like I'm interviewing for a gig, it's like straight up like, nah, dude, script supervising is my life. Like tattoo the word script supervisor on my forehead. Like that's in interviews. I would never tell somebody that like I see myself as like the number one aid to the creative efforts of the director. Like I would never say that stuff. However, though, like when I'm on set and people are like asking me about like, you know, how'd you get into this, or like what is your goal, or etc. Like what do you want to do? You want to script supervise all the time. Like then I usually like open up the dialogue to them of like, you know, like, oh well, like I'd love to direct, and oftentimes they like understand, and they'll be like, yeah, well, like this position's like a great like springboard for that, and etc.
Yeah,
Um so yeah, like I definitely like, I don't say I bring it up, but if I'm asked about it, I'll bring it up. But I want the, especially the director, like I want them to think of me as like their script soup. I don't want them to think of me as like their script soup slash director.
co-director.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that's like you're asking for trouble, and it's just gonna endanger that relationship. You know, like
For
there's
sure,
only
for
one captain
sure,
of the ship.
for sure. Well, I think like most people on set also direct in some capacity.
Yeah.
which is also the weird thing is like I know same as with acting too is like our costume person is also a part-time actor or
Yeah, there you
whatever
go.
whatever the thing is. Because I think about social media a little
Hmm.
bit. Like I always I get okay. This is. I'm hoping that you'll say some things that make me feel better here.
Oh
Maybe
God.
or maybe there's speaking about myself here. Similar to you, uh, writing, directing, dream. Script supervising, I love it. I love supporting other artists, and I think I'm really good at it. My personality is a wonderful fit for the position.
Nice.
When I interview, similarly, it's 100% script supervisor. I bring up maybe that I get the edit, or these are other filmmakers I've also supported, or whatever the thing is. But when I send off, like I have my website is almost like a living resume,
Yeah.
or then if
Yeah.
you go to my Instagram, it's like mixed messages are being sent, or it's like Eddie V Hill, script supervisor, director, or director and script supervisor. Like this two titles are just smacking you in the face here. And it's like, oh no, he's got director first.
Yeah.
We're trying to look for a script supervisor. But then you look at the credits and there's all the stuff that I've done.
Hmm.
And in my brain, I'm like, a confident director shouldn't be worried about. If anything, it should be a plus that they understand what's going on. They've been in your shoes. They
Yeah.
they know how to watch for things that whatever that they know what you're watching for. So they're gonna watch for the things you're not watching for. Um, but I was gonna have a question to end that rant. But what it's tough pursuing both. I guess
Yeah.
it's just the same thing with anything. People are gonna think of you in one track or the other. What's your plan? Maybe I can take some thoughts from how you're
Yeah.
gonna approach it.
I don't know. I mean, you're right, and it's one of those things of like this industry specifically, but like people in general love to like box people and in and like categorize like um
That's just the world, but yes.
exactly. But like, especially this industry though, because it's like it's constantly selling people. It's like trying to figure out like who is Eddie? Like, what does Eddie do for us? Like, what is his thing, and like how is Eddie marketable, right? And that goes like obviously like for a script supervisor, it's like your marketability. You are not something that someone's hinging marketability on. Your marketability is more like how you sell yourself as an individual and like what you bring to the table. But when it comes to like writing and directing, it's like how do you sell yourself? Like what do you offer? And so I think that like you will always struggle with that until you start to like make moves to be known more openly as one over the other. I don't know if that's true or not. But like me personally, like I've been like much more active with like writers groups lately and like trying to get my name more out as like a writer um than I wouldn't say more than a script soup because I'm not like leaving script souping at all, but it's just the fact that I put so much focus on script souping that I like haven't had a chance to like people don't know me as a writer, you know?
Right. Yeah.
um but I've been writing for like many years, and so I think it's just like in the same regards of script supervising of like mingling is what gets you jobs. I think it's similar for both avenues of writing and directing too. It's just
Yeah. Okay. Because I think like a bonus, let's just say for you, like you are on union sets as a script supervisor.
hmm
You mingle with other creatives, and you've been doing so for years.
hmm
And you're in a way, there is an opportunity there to scout talent and to
hmm
be like, this actor was awesome to work with, and I interacted with them as a script supervisor multiple times, and we got along, and I'm gonna try to cast him in my movie.
yeah,
Like
for
that.
sure.
So there's that. Um, I don't know. I was gonna
Yeah.
also to say something else, but I forgot.
I think though that I think you're right. I mean, there's a lot of times where like this last like feature that I was working or developing for a little bit, um, that was definitely like an avenue, right? It was like reaching out to like a couple of these actors that I worked with that I like hit it off with on set. Because that's the thing is like it all depends on your relationship with people, and like like I would never reach out to like an actor or actress that I worked with just like once, unless like we really happened to freaking hit it off.
Unless it was 90 days, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like unless we were like fucking two peas in a pod or something. But like, um, however though, if you like, you run into them multiple times and you're friendly with them and like, you know, you when it's like an acceptable thing. I don't think I think you have to be pretty tone deaf to know like when you're crossing the line.
For sure.
But then sometimes I don't know, maybe that's holding me back a little bit. Maybe I should be crossing the line a little bit too much, more often.
Too much.
I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? I just know. I've heard other script supervisors. Okay, that's okay. I'll just end my self-conscious stream here with I fear. I don't know why. All right, I fear that like I'll work with a group of creatives, and then like at the end of our little short film or the end of the run, we all add each other on Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and then all I'm spewing there is director stuff, and then like, oh, I didn't know that you like now I just think of you as a director, and I'm not gonna call
Mm.
you again. Like I'm not gonna think of you as a script supervisor for the next one because like, I don't know. I have that
I
fear.
think you have to like, I think you the same way you promote your directing, because you have to promote that, right? Like if that's what you want to
You got to
do,
promote all of it.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like you got to promote all of it. And Hannah Driscoll is a script soup, very very talented script soup. Um, she does a lot of great self promotion on her Instagram and
Huh,
Facebook,
okay.
and she does like she's great. She'll like take like a snippet of like a commercial she worked on, and then she'll show like her facing pages or her and she'll show like how she like certain things that she had to deal with that were like unique to that commercial. And so it's really cool because it's still promoting that she's a script soup, but like also she can post other shit on her Instagram or social media
Yeah,
and not have to worry about like diluting herself out of that job.
for sure. Yes. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. I will jump to a new topic. This is a very easy one. Can we talk about your kit?
Mm.
I know that's script supervisors love to
Yeah.
compare kits and how did you develop yours? How has it grown? What did you start with? Where are you now?
Okay, so I started pen and paper or pencil and paper. That's how I learned. That's what I did for like my first year of script souping. Um, and then maybe not even first year. Maybe it was only like 6 months.
Yeah.
But and then like I said, my professor was like a script soup, and she worked off of Scripty, and so I was like, oh okay, like I'll like try out Scripty because that seems to be like a growing standard. This is back in 2015 or whatever, so the software was kind of new but catching on. Um, and so or 2014 or something like that. Anyway, so I started with Scripty, or I started pen and paper, went to Scripty, and I was using Scripty on the iPad.
Okay.
I really loved the mobility of it, and a lot of people still use Scripty on the iPad today because of the mobility. Yeah, there you go. And uh, so I did that for a long time. I was on the iPad, and then
So when you're on the iPad with the Script E software,
mm,
what else are you bringing with you to set? Is it literally just the iPad and then or just with what yeah.
at the time when I was doing it, I'd bring usually like like straight up I would do like my iPad. I would do like a printed out version of the script, and then like a notebook. and that was just in case like my iPad died or this program crashed or et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. But like that was all I brought, like a water bottle. like,
Sure, sure.
like I prided myself in the fact that like I was so streamlined and so
Mobile.
mobile. Yeah,
Yeah, that's me right now. Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay.
It's there's no like, and having like a notebook is like the fucking that's the key element there, because like when I first started using Scripty, I remember like because it's a program, like glitches occur, and
Uh-huh.
like which is anyway, it's a conversation for another thing. But uh I had it where like I got on set and then I went to go like do a shot, and like the program had updated overnight
Oh
because I
no.
didn't turn off the auto updates because it was 2014
R-
and I was new to it
Yeah,
and all that shit.
rookie mistake.
Rookie mistake. So then yeah, I went to go do first shot and I rolled the take, and the whole program just crashed on me and I couldn't do anything. So like thank God for pen and paper there with me, and
Yeah.
the script that I printed out. But anyway, so yeah, and then I did that for a long time, and then I started covering other script soups that were using laptops and using like Blackmagic mini recorders for like video tap, and I just like loved how that looked on your notes. Like it's like my favorite shit is to like see like the frame grabs with each slate, because you can just like, and like people like put way too many with it, which I think is, in my personal opinion, like a bad idea.
On the notes you're talking?
Yeah, on the notes. Because here's the thing is like you can only do 4 photos, representative photos, before it like returns down to a new line
You're
on the
talking
page.
about the Scripty report.
Yes, sorry,
That
talking about the
yeah,
facing
yeah,
pages.
yeah.
And so like I think like any more than 4 photos is fucking crazy. Like you don't like no one needs to see that, and you're just cluttering the reports. I think even 4 is a lot unless the camera's moving a ton.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so like I saw that and I loved that, and I was like, fuck, I want to do that. And at the time, there was like nothing on the iPad. There was no way to be able to do that unless you took photos. Like what I would do is take photos with my phone of the monitor and then like airdrop it to my
Yeah,
iPad
yeah,
and
yeah.
then attach it. But then you're fighting glare and it looks like shit, and it just was like I
It's
hated it.
ugly, yeah.
Yeah, I hated it. So I went from that on to eventually I just like went laptop, bought the Blackmagic mini recorder, and so now I work off of I work off of a MacBook, and I use my Blackmagic mini recorder, and I also have a Demon Quad, which is the Decimator. It's
Such cool names.
the Decimator is like a it's like a splitter that like can input up to 4 video feeds, and then you can make a quad split on your screen so you can see 4 cameras on your monitor, or
Okay.
2 or 3 cameras.
Sure. That sounds really cool.
So I use that so that way I can like take photos and keep track of everything, and that ties into the fact that everything's digital nowadays, and we shoot so fast. People do like 2 takes and they move on, and it's like if there's 5 cameras, there's no fucking way you can watch 5 cameras in 2 takes and then know the continuity. So
Right. Yeah.
so that's where like having like being able to vote like screen capture and having the Demon Quad, like having the split, like all of them right there. I can like snap a couple photos as we move through this take, and then like I can at least fucking look back and have an idea of what to match. Um, so I use that, and then I work out of a it's an SKB laptop case. It looks like a Pelican case basically, but it fits my laptop, and it also comes with like a sunshade that you can like snap into place, so that way if you're outside you can still see your laptop, and that just sits right on a like a C stand, like a baby baby stand,
Yeah.
and then I have like a Robo Cup that I use.
That you latch onto your stand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's my whole rig. It like literally when I go up to set, it's like my one baby stand and then like my Pelican case, and that's it. Like everything's inside of there.
In the case, do you unload the case and then leave that in the car, or is
No, the
that
case is
like
the stand.
oh, the case
The
is the stand.
the bottom of the case, like can I touch this?
Sure.
So like if this is the case and it opens up like this, like on the bottom here is like a little thread inside the
Okay.
case. And so
Okay.
like you can just use like a baby pin and this just like I walk up and I like set the stand down and I just like slip this on and tighten it up and then I open it up and I start working. And that's it. It's super
Wow.
easy. I open it up and the laptop sits inside and it's like maybe this deep. So you got like a compartment underneath to fit everything. And so
Oh, my
ooh,
vinyl.
I wouldn't do that to you.
My Lincoln Park Hybrid Theory vinyl.
That's gold right there, dude.
Okay, what was the how did you feel? How does the talk about the mobility aspect of it?
Mhm.
Like you prided yourself on being mobile with the iPad,
Yeah.
switching to the new rig. What do we call it? Kit. The new
Yeah.
kit.
Rig kit, it's the same thing.
How was that for you? Were you able to keep mobility, or did you realize that maybe like you figured out a way? What was that transition like?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is like the mobility is great, but like half the time it's not that important. Like, as long as your footprint is small, like with your rig or your kit, like it that like how often are you ever fucking like running around on set script supervising? Like I'm never like fucking running around, Like
Sure,
how
sure.
often is there not like sometimes there's not a monitor to like reference or look at, but usually what I do is like the first ACs like will let me tap out of them or I can like peer over their shoulder if there isn't a monitor.
Yeah.
Um so I don't know, I just like in the beginning of my career, I felt that the mobility was like super crucial. And to a certain extent it was because I was working on such fucking low budget things that
Right, right.
like they'd still have a director's monitor, but it would end up being like the director would go off with a fucking handheld, right? Or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to be close to the director. But nowadays though, it's like I don't know. I guess I rely more on my communication than like
Well,
being so close to
that
them.
could say something to non-union versus union again. It could
Yeah.
bring us back to that too, where they're yeah, where it is
You have a village,
you have a
On Union,
village,
you always have a village. Even on splinter units, you have a village.
and ideally communication is better.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. Cool.
So you work iPad only? That's it?
Yep. So you're asking about my kit
Yeah. Just,
and
curiosity.
Scripty. I have yet to. I don't do any of the Scripty add-ons.
Mhm.
I haven't done that yet. Um. Okay. Yeah. So I have the iPad with like the hard case
Nice.
casing thingy with a strap.
Is it the big iPad or do you go off the regular, like the Air or something?
It's an Air
Okay.
2 or something like
Cool.
that. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
what I was working off of.
Yeah.
iPad Air.
So it's lovely. Hard case with the strap, so you can just
Nice.
shoulder strap that,
Smart.
walk. And then I have like a baby clipboard for the sides.
That's what I was gonna
Um,
ask you. Is what do you do about carrying your sides around and stuff?
yeah, so I just have the baby clipboard that I'll put under my arm or whatever. I'll carry that, and I look cool. I look busy with a clipboard. Um, and then I got the pens in the pocket,
Nice.
clipboard, and the iPad, and that's essentially my setup.
Nice.
If the only time I do the stills is when I'm on like commercial gigs,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
then
to
that,
match boards.
yeah, and then there's the VTR there.
Q-Take or
Yeah, you just
anything like
hop on
that.
that and do that on my phone or the iPad, and
Yeah, that's always great.
so if It's standard non-union, no VTE. You don't know. And I need stills. I'll do the thing that you talked about with just snagging what I need with my phone.
Yeah.
And if we're exterior, it's just you can't. There's
Yeah, you're
usually
just fucked.
yeah. It's just use your brain.
Yep.
And say sorry when you don't have good reference images
Yeah,
if
I mean, you
needed.
can't even apologize at that point, you know? Like you're only human, and like if they can't even provide you with like courtesies for
Well, I didn't
monitor, like
say sorry and feel really bad. I just said say sorry.
true, true. You got me there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my thing. But
Cool, I love that.
I always, I don't know, I wouldn't say get jealous, but I think when I see the rigs, the kits online, and like people talking about which stands to buy and which, I'm just
Mhm.
like, what are other script supervisors doing?
You just
But
got to do what works for you, man. I mean,
yeah,
like
that's what,
here's the
yeah,
thing, at the end of the day, like you can do this job with just with the binder, you know? Like you don't need to have any of that fancy shit, you know?
for sure.
Stephen Gerke, you know, is Steve's Christopher Nolan's script supervisor, and he's still pen and paper.
I love it.
So like all that other shit is just like it's just whatever you're used to, whatever you like to use, whenever it makes your job easier.
Yeah, I agree.
So I
That's
hate
why
the butting heads from people about it.
it happens.
I know it's
Yeah,
natural. I'm not like hate is a strong word, but
sure,
like
sure.
there's too much talk about it. You know, it's a cool thing to hear how other people work. You know, but like
Yeah,
people focus on it. You know.
it's all we got. It's all we got.
Yeah.
What are script supervisors supposed to talk about? We gotta talk.
Continuity.
We gotta talk about which software we use, and then I'm not gonna bring you on my shoot because you work that software.
Yeah. How dare you use a different software than me?
Yeah.
You freak.
Yep. Okay. Do I have a thing here? How often you I vague-ish question.
hmm
Do you have a favorite when you look back on your history in filmmaking, crewing, script supervising specifically? Do you have a favorite show or favorite project that you're like, oh my gosh, I want to get more gigs that were exactly, or in the vein of that, and that's what you use as your barometer for how much.
Yeah, I mean, I I mentioned it before, but like the project that always stands out to me just cuz it was like such a it's the only project I think that I've like worked on where I full-heartedly like connected with like the story and what we were doing, but Marcel the Shell, I mentioned it earlier.
Uh,
But Marcel was like a short film, stop motion film on YouTube, and then Dean, the director and creator of it, him and Jenny Slate took it and made a feature out of it, and so I got to script soup the feature, and you know, not only was it like so interesting because it was stop motion, so you're script souping like plates, you're shooting like a lot of plates,
yeah,
set like they had the whole movie made as storyboards
right.
with the actual recordings. Like they recorded all the dialogue and everything,
Sounds
and
like yeah, like animation.
it's like
Yeah,
animation, yeah.
yeah.
But then like we would go and shoot the plates, and we'd like play back like whatever would be happening in this shot, and like so the stop motion thing, like any stop motion element was going to be reshot on a green screen, being puppeted and then cut into these plates. Um, but it was just like such an interesting process. And Dean is such a likable human being and such a genuine person. And the story in that film is so heartwarming and honest. And it deals with grief. And it just, anyway. So,
Yeah.
like, I always look at that film and I'm like, fuck, man. Like, if I could get on more stuff like that, like, that'd be amazing. Because it's like you go to set every day. With like a new excitement of like what are we doing and like you have like a feeling that like what you're building is going to resonate with people, and I think
Yeah.
that's like the key. Like you need to be enthused about what you're working on, Because if you don't give a shit about it, then like it's gonna be a suffering 30 days. Like,
Okay. So it was a 30-day feature?
um, that one I think was 30 or 45 or something.
Okay, it's a
Honestly, I don't know. It's
little
been a
bit.
little bit.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
it's stop motion. It's coming out this year, so like it's been like 2 years or something
Oh
like that.
my, it's been that
Oh
long.
yeah,
Wow.
stop motion takes forever. But anyway, so yeah, I always look back at that. I think that's like, for me, like if I can do more stuff like that,
And what was the so it was it the story that got you psyched, or was it the process of the stop motion? What
it's
what?
it's both. I mean, like the story drew me to it so much, you know. I think like a lot of times we work on projects and like we have to like just break them down and do it as is. It's like, you know, like you're like a gun for hire like a lot of the times.
Sure.
Especially in non-union, like when you're doing like fucking Lifetime movies or something like that,
Oh no.
like like that stuff. I mean, at least for me, like that's just not it's not fun.
Yeah.
um, but yeah. Anyway, so I guess like when you're drawn to the story, like that's huge.
And then you and the director, this was a director you had worked with prior to that too.
No,
Okay.
this is yeah. I met Dean through that shoot. We did like an
Okay.
interview and
And they just hit it off.
Yeah,
There we
exactly,
go.
exactly. But yeah. Anyway, so that's about it for me. And like, if I were to like take a film that I've worked on or a project I've worked on and be like, that's the fucking one, you know, like
Yeah.
more of
Okay.
that, please.
For sure. That sounds great. I know I'm helping produce a little like 1 day short for a
Mm.
buddy, and he's got some stop motion
Oh man.
planned on it. Just I think it's two setups of stop motion. So I'm very curious to see because yeah, he was talking with the VFX artist. So it sounds like the way you're talking about it too, where you kind of have the audio playing as you're shooting it, so you know the length of the shot
Exactly.
and how all that works. So I was kind of being given the rundown on because we're just gonna be like a tiny 4-person crew or something crazy
Yeah.
like that. So I'm like, oh, it's great. I might have to hit you up on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so much planning goes into that, and like that's really where like you know your script soups organization is crucial because like um they got to go reshoot the whole movie in stop motion after this.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like it's super crucial that everything's organized and together and matching and
Yeah, sounds like those camera heights and all that kind of stuff. Like
exactly.
that's the angles of the.
Yes.
Okay, noted.
Yes. Yeah,
Noted.
focal distance, lens,
I'll have
all
to
that
hire a
shit.
script soup for this one. If anybody's looking, I'm just kidding. Okay. I was gonna ask because I like to ask this question in your union. So, how do you feel about what were your thoughts going through the IATSE potential strike, and maybe that in general? Where I don't know what's going on currently, but and then in general, like the 12-hour day, the hours, and like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff from the script supervisor perspective.
I don't know. I'm like, you know, I'm pretty upset with the way things ended with the negotiations. I think I understand why they ended the way they did. I I get why people felt
You want to give a quick recap? So,
yeah, yeah.
just in case.
I guess like mainly what I'm going on about is just that okay, so like we'd authorized a strike, um, which basically means that like Matt Loeb, the head of IATSE, can like go to the negotiation table and be like, we will strike unless you give us what we want. And we ended up like reaching an agreement, but like the agreement didn't like hit any of the concerns that anyone in the fucking industry had. Like literally, they like appeased only like niche groups of the industry, and like I guess that like it's mainly because IATSE came to the table with demands for like there. It's just like a disconnect from IATSE members and IATSE leadership. Like IATSE leadership came to the fucking table and was like, "This is what we want," but it was like fucking peanuts. Like it's like begging for scraps. And then the rest of us were like, no, we need to make systemic change with like hours and like with rates and with like in regards to inflation and etc. And like and new media and like putting an end to new media. And instead, like none of that was addressed.
Hmm.
And so now we're just reeling and like there's been a lot more effort now with all of us like already planning and getting all of our like ducks in a row for 3 years from now for the next negotiation. Um, to come to the table and like cut down the hours, like increase the rates, change it so that way, like you know, our increase in wage every year, like annually, like fits what inflation is. Because right now we have like a 3% increase, and inflation is 6%. So like we're
Yeah.
not even matching inflation.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the fuck.
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm pretty furious, but I
Ah.
understand how it happened. But I think that we need to there needs to be systemic change um, for the way that this business is run. Because like 12-hour days being or 12 and a half or 13-hour days, if you include your lunches, being the minimum of every day and doing that 5 to 6 days a week is just not a sustainable. Like that's not real life. Like you can't. How do you have an existence? How do you have a family?
Yeah, for sure. How, what's your, so, okay. What is, how, how has your experience been as of late in the, like, did you see it get better or worse switching from non-union to union when it came to working hours? 'Cause or I don't know. Like I'm trying to. I hear things like sometimes these corporations have so much money that they push, the 14, 16-hour days
Yeah,
commonly. I've never experienced that myself, but I don't. But then
you're
that's like
lucky.
it's like how how common is like how much change? What?
It's. I mean, here's the thing. Like, yeah, you're spot on. Like, non-union projects, like you will almost like never break your 12 and a half or 13
Because they
hours.
can't afford it.
Yeah, they can't afford to do it. They're pinching every penny.
But sometimes I'll interject.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes, like you talk about the Lifetime movie
Yeah.
or a lot of times, and there is the potential for smaller projects to exploit an experienced crew with the enticement of being a part of a movie and then to work them in ways that they don't know is wrong, like
Yeah.
short turnarounds or extra long days and short turnarounds, or like we're here trying to do something, buy into the dream. We're making a movie in
Yeah.
7 days.
We're a family. We're all working together on
Yeah,
this.
we're all dying. It's okay.
Like calling grace every single day, like that kind of shit.
Yeah, like that kind. We're working a 20-hour day. Everybody's wearing three different hats and whatever. Like there's that situation too. But okay, sorry.
But yeah, no. Absolutely. Like that shit happens on non-union. But I think that like yes, with union, it's great because we're protected in a lot of ways. Like that's very true. And especially with COVID and everything, like there's also a lot of measures that IATSE has in place that like protects us as well as like ensures more pay for us, like COVID testing days and so on, which is like always a blessing.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like like we deserve that money because like we can't work the day that we have to go fucking get COVID tested. So like
Yeah.
the bare minimum that they can do for us is give us a stipend.
Because the argument became right. It wasn't even about the money. It was you can throw all the money you want at us, but that's not the issue really. The issue is the
Yeah.
hours. is like, oh, you're gonna up our pay 10% next year, but you're gonna work a 16-hour days. That's
Yep.
not. That doesn't really fix the issue.
Yeah, that's one of the like wins that we got with this last negotiation, which was like the guaranteed turnarounds, you know.
When does that kick in again?
It started already.
It started.
Yeah, because I just got a check for retro pay. So like stuff so like it's already things have started already rolling over. Um but I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of the stuff with like the turnaround is bullshit. Like okay, like if they work you 6 days a week, then it's like only 32 hours off before they have to call you back. And like how is that fair? Like if you do a 5-day week, it's like a 48-hour guarantee or something like that. And then like if it's 6 days, it's 32 hours guaranteed. And it's like, okay, so I still only have like one whole day off. Like I mean, I guess that is better, yes, than like before where it's like you work an overnight on Friday. Like they call it a Fraturday. And
Right.
so like you work an overnight Saturday and then like you're back on Monday at 6 a.m., right? You know, like so then you only really have like one whole day and some change like for yourself. So I guess that like yes, these new turnarounds like guarantee that, but it also just like guarantees that like I wouldn't say guarantees, but people have basically stated that like it's going to force like more 6-day weeks basically. So,
Yay, 6-day pay. No, I
yeah.
don't know. Okay, yeah, I was trying to do the math. I remember when those numbers came out, and I was like, is this good? I
Yeah.
wasn't sure because like if you did a Saturday and you wrapped at 6 a.m.
Mhm.
on Saturday, 48 hours from that is 6 a.m. on
Yeah, but it
Monday.
wouldn't be oh yeah, it would be. It would be yeah, it would be Monday. Yeah.
So you're starting Monday anyway.
Yeah, it's just a guarantee that the call on Monday isn't so early that it like eats into your time.
So yeah, they have a 6 p.m. call Friday. They wrap you. Then they go late and wrap you 9 a.m. on
Yeah,
Saturday, so they can't call you.
at 6 a.m. on Monday.
Yeah,
Like but like
sure.
you're fucking arguing you're arguing like that's what I'm saying like scraps, dude. Like it's so the hours will kill you in this industry and they are and like that's true and like yeah in union world like they have more money and like I've been on a lot of union sets lately where like we don't even have lunch like you just like straight up you just like they just pay all the meal penalties and you just keep working so like you know that's becoming commonplace
And then you
already.
have to sneak away, or do they have lunch out and like it's like a rolling like a
Yeah, it's kind of
walking
like
lunch?
French hours, if you will, but it's not French hours.
Yeah.
It's the French concept, but like you still work like 15 hours. And then that's really great for people that are in our position because, you know, it's really awesome having to try and eat your food while also doing your fucking job. Like when the fuck am I supposed to like be cutting up like a slice of chicken when I'm watching monitors or we're like moving inside. Like,
Yeah, that's most positions for sure.
yeah.
Like a gaffer or grips building
Yeah.
stuff for the
But they
DP.
can like get released because they have a department, you know? Like what they do is they rotate out. So it's like one
Oh,
grip will go and get his food and bring it back and like be chowing
the
and then like while the other ones are kind of covering that and then like yeah, they're still down a person though, you know?
yeah.
But like the fact that they have a department allows them to rotate out. Like when do we rotate out? There's no one to fucking cover us. When is that gonna happen? Like
Great. Okay, that's what I was hoping to get out of you.
yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
But like I don't want it to make it sound like unions jobs are bad. Like I love union work. I just think that like with the gains we could have had with negotiations and like what we will hopefully have in 3 years is like astronomical, you know, like I say, like I keep saying it, like it's a change within the entire way that the system works.
So ideal situation, let's say. Would you prefer? Well, let's just, okay, because talking about life again and
Yeah.
having a life. Let's just say the went to the standard American 8-hour day. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking here. but then it's on location shoot, and you landed this feature or this TV show that's taking you to New Mexico for X amount of time. If they're doing 12-hour days, you're there for 3 months, and if you're doing 8-hour days, you're there for twice the amount of time or
Yeah.
whatever, or three,
Like 5 months or
5 months.
something.
Yeah. So then you're away from home for even longer, but you have the rest at least.
Yeah.
How does that play? Or is it the ideal situation? Like I don't. Yeah, I mean, because you're still getting the same day rate.
Yeah, I mean
It's
your rate's higher on travel jobs too, and you have per diem and stipend
You just take your
and
family with you.
yeah, I mean
Is that
that's
the
I know a
ideal?
lot of people that do like bring their family out for a little bit. It's just like if you're in Hawaii or something, it's like
For sure. Yeah,
fly the family
Hawaii.
out for like a month or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean obviously that's like that's a like reasonable like complaint, if you will, about it is that like the days are longer. I don't think we need to do like 8, but I think like if we make 10 the norm, like 10 hours is your normal workday, and then 12 is where it's like, oh man, it's gonna be a long day. It's a 12-hour. Like I think like that needs to be the standard.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just such a trickle effect, and it's so messy because like that all stems from like the studios and the higher ups. Like
Producers. Yeah.
exactly. Like their schedules and what they need to push out and
So I
everything.
think the way to get this passed in 3 years, right, is you push for like a 6-hour day, and then they meet you in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's basically the kind of bullshit that they were doing inside the negotiations, the producers were doing, where they wanted to make it harder for us to get our health insurance every quarter. They wanted
Oh.
to make it more hours. It's 400 right now, and they wanted to make it like 600. And then they wanted to like lower the annual increase of rate to like 1.5. And like they knew that this would never pass, but by asking for such
Yeah.
ridiculous bullshit, they were able to be like, "Look how generous we are. We gave you guys so much." And it's like, "You didn't give us fucking shit." Like, everyone can see through this veil. Like, you're fucking the worst.
Yes. Okay. Any other thoughts on that before we No, I think that's kind of yeah. Okay, so stuff is moving. We'll see what change actually
Yeah.
occurs, or maybe nothing changes. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that's happening outside of the union, even with just script supervisors in their own networks, and I know that there's like camera teams or entire like pieces of like 600, like local 600
Uh,
that have like they're tracking like their rates and stuff like that, and I think that there's not enough of that within our community, within like the 871 groups of like being transparent about like what rates you are working and what rates are like being
yeah,
accepted.
what you're doing for what?
Like if
Yeah,
we hold the line at certain rates, like we can raise the rate like regardless of the fucking locals.
yeah.
Like if the locals don't want to fucking fight for the wage increase, like we can just do it. Like it's literally just about holding the line.
Yeah.
And it's proven to work though. It's happening a lot. We're getting our rates up on commercials
Yeah,
recently.
it's a small enough community. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, and I think with us, like specifically, like we're in such high demand right now, and I think that like now and like this whole time period we've been in with COVID is like the ideal time to be like putting the pressure on them to raise the rates.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll this will be our I'll push us out with asking about the directing dream a little bit more, or just 2022 in general.
Yeah.
The future. What how are you looking at this year? What are you looking to make some stuff? You looking to what are you what's next for Aaron?
My goal this year is really to get repped for writing.
Uh-huh.
That's
Is
been like our out the gate thing. We just finished like a new screenplay that we are like super super excited about, and we have like a lot of faith in, and we've been getting like a lot of positive feedback from people, and so I'm really excited to using those contacts from working on set. I've managed to befriend a couple producers who I've spoken with that are interested in the script already. So I'm
Ooh,
hoping to, just fucking hit the ground running and make 2022 like that year for me.
lovely. So rept is that just to clarify what rept is? Are you talking management or agent
Yeah,
or
manager or agent, either or for me. I mean,
both?
honestly, I feel like manager would be great, just mainly because from my understanding, like managers more focus on like shaping your
Yeah,
career.
they're gonna help build you up and yeah,
Exactly.
and have you
And
prepped for when the time comes.
and agents are helping with sales.
Yeah,
So I mean, obviously, like fuck yeah, if I got an agent, that would be tight. Like,
sure.
but
Getting a team is important. Yeah.
exactly. And so that's kind of like whichever avenue that leads to is fine with me.
That's the intention is it the writing is it writing solely or is the intention ideally that you'd be directing said thing or is at this point it's like let's get something sold and get some momentum.
Yeah, spot on. You're right on with that. Like right now, it's like the because we went the whole route already with like writing something and then trying to like get it off the ground with me directing, and like it's just so tough because like no one wants to take leaps on like directors on first time feature directors.
Sure.
Like it's a gamble, and then you have to have a whole bunch of shit to prove your worth, and then you're scraping peanuts, and then you're like setting yourself up to fail almost because it's like here's no money, now go make something good, and it's like okay, like
Sure,
how,
sure.
how do you want me to fucking do that? Like you're tying my hands behind my back. So with this new script though, we like really resonated and connected with it, um, like fundamentally, and I think this script is like much more of a focus of like the intent was like to sell this and or like use it to get recognition.
Okay.
So the focus has been much more on writing, and then like in time transitioning into using that to write and direct.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so that's that and then script supervising just keep being awesome.
Yeah, man, just keep fucking riding the wave. Like script souping has been weird since COVID. COVID hit, killed the industry, and then it came back with just like a shit ton of commercial work, like so many commercials.
Ooh.
I've like in the past since COVID started, I've done more commercials than I've ever done in my whole career. Like I'm constantly doing commercial work, and it's a blessing and like knock on wood that it like persists.
Yeah.
But yeah, so doing like a shit ton of commercial work, and so I'm just riding that wave, baby.
For
Like,
sure, for sure.
hopefully that keeps coming my way, and it allows me more time
Yeah,
to write.
then you could fund your own feature with that.
Yeah,
with that kind of
exactly.
work, with that kind of
Hey,
workload.
baby.
Hey,
Maybe one day.
maybe. All right, cool. Well, awesome. I will kind of, I guess, pretty much leave it at that.
Cool.
I appreciate you coming out and talking some continuity. And
Yeah, of course.
where can I don't know. Last question I normally ask is where can people follow you on your
Yeah.
journey and stuff. I don't think you put yourself out there in that way, but is there a
No, you
place
can
people
follow
could?
me. Oh yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's literally my name. It's at Aaron Sauerland,
Okay.
and you can find me on Twitter under the same handle. And
Are you active there?
yeah,
like-
I'm more active on Twitter recently, but I'm pretty flaunting on my Instagram. I put it out there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I know, like, I'm enticed with Twitter. I've never really given it a shot, but like from the writer perspective,
Exactly.
it's a good way to put blurbs and showcase how witty you are and all that.
That's
kind of stuff.
100%. Like
Okay.
as I mentioned earlier, like I've really focused on like being active in the writer community more.
Yes.
And Twitter is like a great avenue for that because like screenwriting Twitter is like a toxic cesspool, but also has great little nuggets in there. So
Yeah. Oh, sounds lovely.
you got to navigate it like this industry.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well.
Awesome.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bum, bum, bum.